All right, how are we doing, folks? We're going to start off with our large kiln, and we talked about refractory clay. This clay is refractory. It repels or contains heat. Behind this brick is 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see that kind of orange glow. So this is touching 2,000 degrees. I can touch the other end. That's what we mean by refractory. So what we're going to do is do a quick review on our glaze lecture. So we talked about glazes being part of your periodic table. You can see these colors corresponding to your periodic table. So for example, if a glaze is black, it would have manganese, cobalt, chrome, and iron. If a glaze is blue, it might have cobalt. If it's a yellow, it might have titanium, zirconium, tin. If it's green, it might have copper. If it's brown, it might have irons. The main chart you will be using is this side, and those glazes are found here. So what we're going to do is going to try to keep this to about 8 minutes. Glaze lecture. Here's one of our little products, which I'm going to use to prop this up. All right. So here we go. What we're going to talk about here is clay and glazes and what to do. So I'm going to give myself a little light. Better. All right. So I'm going to try to go quickly because this is the lecture you might have missed in class. Brushes are on your table. Water bowls for water are at the sink. These are your glazes. If your glazes don't open, you're going to take your glaze and maybe just put it upside down in water, or you're going to run this in the sink till it starts to loosen up for you. Your glaze will dry and harden. So we don't want to pour the glaze into the lid. It's also important to understand that the glaze looks different, wet, dry, and fired. You want to make sure this is what you're going for. So we take a brush. If the brushes aren't clean, you're welcome to clean the brush first. Now, we've carved into these. I'm going to show you an easy way to get all your lettering perfect or your carving. So here, we're putting this on here. We're going to let this dry a little bit. Our Stranger Things tile, this is our goal, to get this stuff to show up. And hopefully we've carved enough to get this to kind of go into those holes. It's going to go quickly, and then I'm going to let this dry while we're talking. So, a couple points. The glaze is not paint. I understand that the finished fired color is on the lid, but the glaze will look different wet, dry, and fired. Please keep that in mind. I should write down these numbers or take a picture of all the lids I've got. The other thing is make sure the lid and the jar match so you know what color you've really got. So this way, you might remember the number, but it might not be in the box. Someone might have it. I understand that the glaze hardens when it dries. So if I pour it into the lid, it will seal it shut. You might be the next person to use that color, and you'll be kind of bummed that it's sealed shut. So I understand that if the glaze is too thick, it might melt and kind of run off of the piece and then stick to my kiln shelf. So I never want to put any glaze on the bottom of my piece. We don't want it to stick when it's heating up. I want to put about 2 to 3 layers. Again, nothing on bottom, nothing in lids. I can layer the colors, but I can't really blend them together. We have a lot of different colors, so try to find the color that you want. And again, you can kind of layer them. You can see there's a little bit of layering on this one. You can also do the perimeter, which makes your piece look like a nice little sculpture or tile rather than just a surface. I want to use a clean brush each time, so if I don't think it's clean, maybe I should clean it first. Then I'm going to put it back in here when I'm done. So I might even want to make a diagram if I had a sculpture. This is the numbers where I put them. Maybe take a picture, draw that in, little Snapchat picture. So I also want to understand that my glaze is made up of silica, which fluxes at 2000 Fahrenheit. Silica is sand, so it melts into glass at, let's say, 2000 Fahrenheit for even number's sake. Glaze has some clay in it to keep it stable at 2000 Fahrenheit. Clay shrinks when dry and fired. And take this off, I'm alone here. So, first a physical, then a chemical change. So again, clay shrinks when it dries, shrinks when it's fired. We've got a chemical change. It's hard, it's porous, it's not going back. Clay has colorants or oxides or metals, colorants/oxides, metals, from your periodic table. These are the same colorants found in your hair dye, your makeup, your clothing. Guess what? Makeup is clay. It might be white clay with different colorants added. Your clothing, your shoes, car paint, even some of the food you eat has some of that stuff from your periodic table to add color to it. Or it might be a derivative from the periodic table because so far everything comes from planet Earth. Okay? So, brushing techniques, sponging. Here's our thing here. Now, we're going to take a big sponge. Bam! Look at that. Flip it over to a clean side, and I've got a nice, clean layer. Now, I can glaze around that, but I didn't have to do this neatly because that's really, really hard to do. So that's important. Then I can take a smaller brush, and let's say I wanted to now go around this. I might use this color, and here's an easy technique. So some people kind of like brush and mush the brush, but that's going to mush through and give you a thin bit of glaze. Here, if I kind of barely touch and I pull that glaze along, I get a nice thick bit of glaze like that, and I just pull it along up to there. It's barely touching that, and I can go around there kind of easily. Got a little bit in there, but that looks pretty good. Then I can go around this. This is going to dry, and I can kind of blend it in a little bit and get a clean coat. So that's your basic how-to with glazing. I think I pretty much covered everything. If you missed the lecture, hopefully this is helpful. This page is on your table tent. Thank you.